Oh my god, うるさ。357 80-10-year-old are 100,000 square people countrywide. One expert says that 1.3 million children a year are involved in bullying, and it is believed that bullying leads to many unrelated suicide. Bullying is responsible for 32% of this costs employer 80 million value days and up to £2 billion in lost money every year. It also results in poor moral activity and higher staff number. Bullying from the right pattern domestic abuse and harm, unaccounted violence, and extreme serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of the adults are benefited.なんか聞き取りづらいな。When people mention bullying, many automatically think of bullying in school. A study carried out by Sheffield University in 1994 revealed that, in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of those in secondary school are bullied once a week. 350,000 80-10 years old and 100,000 secondary school people countrywide. One expert says that 1.3 million children a year are involved in bullying, and it is believed that bullying leads to many other home. Bullying leads to as many as 20 children. And it is believed that bullying leads to as 最初のやつが聞こえないぞ。One expert said 1.2 million children a year are involved in bullying, and it is believed that bullying leads to the すげえ聞こえな。Due to as many due to as many as 20 children. Okay. One expert said 1.2 million children a year are involved in bullying, and it is believed that bullying leads to as many as 20 children a year committing suicide. Bullying is responsible for 30-50% of all stress-related illness in workplace. This costs employer 80 million working days and up to £2 billion in lost money every year. It also results in poor moral productivity and higher staff number. Bullying turns a large part of massacre place in the palm and can lead to violence and extremely serious psychological damage. It is very common. 83% of adults are verbally bullied by the partners, and 50% are physically bullied. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turning from your home. Men suffering bullying as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit themselves, much less to others. When people mention bullying, many automatically think of bullying in school. A study carried out by Sheffield University in 1994 revealed that, in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of those in secondary school are bullied once a week. 350,000 89-year-old and 100 secondary school people countrywide. One expert says that 1.3 million children a year are born in birth, and it is believed that burning deaths as many as 20 1.3 million children a year are born in burning, and it is believed that burning leads to as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. Burning is responsible for 30-50%. 早いんだよな、なんか。早くない ?Suicide. Burning is responsible for 30-50% of all stress-related illness in the workplace. This costs employees 80 million working days and up to £2 billion in lost money every year. It also results in poor. This costs employees 80 million working days and up to £2 billion in lost money every year. It also results in poor morale and productivity and higher staff turnover. Burning from the large petrol massacre built in home and can lead to violence and extreme serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally violated by their partners. 早い。早い。Burning from a large part of domestic abuse in the home and can lead to violence and extreme serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally violated by their partners, and 50% are physically violated. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turning your home from a refuge into a prison. Men suffering bullying as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit themselves not right to others. When people mention bullying, many automatically think of bullying in school. A study carried out by Shahru University in 1994 revealed that in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of those in secondary school are bullied once a week. 350,000 to 82-year-old and 100 secondary 100,000 secondary school people countrywide. One expert says 1 million children a year are involved in bullying, and it is believed that bullying leads to asだからAz 聞こえんて。and it is believed リル言ってんだけどな。lead to as many as 12 children a year. Bullying. And it is believed that bullying leads to as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. And it is believed that bullying leads to And it is believed that bullying leads to as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. And it is believed that bullying leads to as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. And it is believed that bullying leads to as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. And it is believed that bullying leads to as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. And it is believed that bullying leads to as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. Bullying is responsible for 30, 50. 50%. 32. 30 to 50%. Hyphen をこれ2って読んでんのか。Bullying is responsible for 30 to 40% of all. Bullying leads to many others. Worrying is responsible for 30 to 50% of all stress-related illness in the workplace. Assault-related illness. Stress-related illnesses. Too sorry. Stress-related illness in the workplace. In 2020 year, committing suicide. Worrying is responsible for 30 to 50% of all stress-related illnesses in the workplace. This costs employer 80 million working days and up to 2 billion pounds in lost money every year. It also results in poor morale and productivity and higher staff turnover. Worrying from a large part of bouncing person harm, encountered violence and extremely serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally bullied by their partners. 50% of are physical bullied. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel loved, turn you home, refuge in your place. When surviving as well, even though when people mention bullying, many automatically think of bullying in school. A study carried out by Sheffield University in 1994 revealed that in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of those in secondary school are bullied once a week. 357 8 to 10-year-olds and 100 secondary school people countrywide. Okay? Or experts say the 1.7 million. And it is believed that bullying leads to as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. Bullying is responsible 30 to 40% of all stress. Uh, this costs employer 80 million working days and up to 2 billion pounds in lost money every year. It also results in poor morale and productivity and higher staff turnover. Bullying from a large part of domestic abuse in the home, it can lead to violence and extremely serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally bullied by their partners, and 50% of the physical bullying. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turning your home from refuge into prison. Men suffer bullying as well as women, even though they may the highest of trauma, running from the large part of those abused in the home, encountered violence and extremely serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally bullied by their partners, and 50% are physical bullied. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turning your home from refuge into a prison. Men suffer bullying as well as women, even though they even though they may even though refuge into prison. Men suffer bullying as well as women, even though they may find even though they may find men suffer bullying. They find it harder, find it harder, even though they may find it harder, even though they may find it harder, even though they may find it harder. Rules can make you trapped, turning your home from refuge into prison. Real men find balance very soon, even though they may find it harder to admit themselves, much less to others. Turning your home in refuge into prison. Men find bullying as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit themselves, much less to others. 消えんの早い。ねちょちょちょちょちょちょ Even though many fail to admit themselves, much less to others. ちょちょちょ Turning harm from refuge into prison. Men suffer burning as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit to themselves, much less to others. Number 13. When people mention burning, many automatically think of burning in school. A study carried out by Sheffield University in 1994 revealed that in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of those in secondary school are buried once a week. 350,000 8 to 10 years old, and 100 追いつかない脳が。Right. And it is believed that burning is as many as burning is responsible for 30 to 40%. あれうん。Not rest, others. あ The study carried out sharing University in 1994 revealed that in Belgium, 10% of primary school children and 4% of those in secondary school are buried once a week. 350,000 80 to 10 years old and 100,000 secondary school people countrywide. One expert said 1.3 million children in a year in Belgium and it is believed that burying leads as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. Dwelling is responsible 30 to 50 数字がな数字ですわ。Dwelling. And it is believed dwelling leads to as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. Dwelling is responsible for 30 to 32のさ、2がさ、邪魔なんだよな。アルファベットで書いとけ。Dwelling is responsible for 30 to 50%. まあいいや。こんなとこまあいいや。何 suicide. Running is responsible for 30 to 50% of all stress-related illnesses in the workplace. This costs employers 80 million working days and up to 2 billion pounds in lost money every year. It also results in poor morale and productivity and high staff turnover. Running from large part of domestic abuse in the home and can lead to violence and extreme serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of the adults are verbally bullied by their partners, and 50% are physically bullied. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turning your home from refuge into a prison. Men suffer bullying as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit to themselves, much less to others. When people mention bullying, many automatically think of bullying in school. A study carried out by Sheffield University in 1994 revealed that in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of those in secondary school are buried once a week. 350,000 8 to 10 years old and 100,000とか involved in bullying. And it is believed that bullying led to as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. Bullying is less. This costs employers 80 million working days and up to £2 billion in lost money every year. It also results in poor morale and productivity and higher self-turnover, growing from a large part of domestic growth in the home and can lead to violence and extreme serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally bullied by their partners, and 50% are physically bullied. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turning you from a refuge into a prison. Men suffer bullying as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit to themselves, much less to others. 単語の確認します。キャリアを実行する、果たす、行われる、パープル学生、生徒、子供、プール、貧しい、it also results in poor morale and productivity and higher self-turnover. それは、何々にもなる、リザルトに結果となる、貧しいモラル、士気の乏しさと、プロダクティビティ、生産性。モラルと、士気と、プロダクティビティ、生産性の低下、貧しさという結果にもなる、higher、高まり、スタッフターンオーバー、スタッフの離職率、従業員の離職率という結果による、モラル&プロダクティビティの並列と、ハイヤースタッフターンオーバーの並列。モラル&プロダクティビティが並列で、この2つの合わさったやつと、ハイヤースタッフターンオーバーが並列。Running from a large part of domestic drawing from abuse. Running from a large part of domestic abuse in the home and can lead to violence and extreme measures. It is very common. 一般的である。53% の大人がいじめられてます。はい。bullied, intimidation, 脅し、intimidation, 脅迫、脅し、submit to intimidation, refuge, 難情、much less to, ましてや、much less to others, ましてや、何々ではない。ましてや何々であると。はい。ないか。When people mention bullying, many automatically think of bullying in school. A study carried by Charles University in 1994 revealed that in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of those in secondary school are bullied once a week. 360,000 8 to 10 years old and 100,000 secondary school people countrywide. One expert says that 1.3 million children a year are involved in bullying, and it is believed that bullying will to as many as 2 and 12 children. Bullying is responsible for 30 to 50% of all stress-related illness. Of all stress-related illnesses in the workforce, discussed employing 8 million working days and up to £2 billion in lost money every year. It also results in poor morale and productivity and higher self-turnover. Bullying forms a large part of domestic abuse in the home and can lead to violence and extremely serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally bullied. Violence and extremely serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally bullied by their partners, and 50% are physically bullied. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turning your home from refuge into prison. Men suffer bullying as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit to themselves, much less to others. School. A study carried out at China University in 1994 revealed that in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of those who secondary school learn once a week. Warning of a large battle with massive oppressed in Nepal, and can lead to violence and extremely serious psychological damage. It is very common. 63% of drugs are verbally brought by their partners, and 50% of physical bullying, intimidation, or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turning your home from refuge into prison. Men suffer bullying as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit to themselves, much less to others. Much less. Hmm. When people mention bullying, many automatically think of bullying from school, A study carried out by Sheffield University in 1994 revealed that in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of adults in secondary school are buried once a week. 350,000 8 to 10 years old and 100,000 secondary school pupils countrywide. One expert says that 1.3 million children a year are involved in bullying, and it believes that bullying leads to as many as 20 children a year. Bullying is responsible for 30 to 50% of the world. Uh, it also results in poor morale, productivity, and higher staff turnover. Learning from a large part of domestic abuse in the home, and can lead to violence and extremely serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally bullied by their partners, and 50% are physically bullied. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turn you from refuge into prison. Men suffer bullying as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit themselves, much less others. 疲れた。When people mention bullying, many automatically think of bullying in school. A study carried out by Sheffield University in 1994 revealed that in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of those secondary school are bullied once a week. 350,000. One expert said that 1.3 million children a year are involved in bullying, and it is believed that bullying leads as many as 12 children a year committing suicide. Bullying is responsible for 30 to 50% of all stress-related illnesses in the workplaces. This costs employers 80 million 100 and up to 2 billion pounds in lost money every year. It also results in poor morale and productivity and higher staff turnover. Bullying from a large part of domestic abuse in the home and can lead to violence and extreme serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally bullied by their partners, and 50% are physically bullied. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turning your home from a refuge into prison. Men suffer bullying as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit to themselves, much less to others. When people mention bullying, a study carried out by Sheffield University in 1994 revealed that Sheffield millions of people around the world. One expert said that 1 million children a year involved in bullying. Bullying in response to 30 to 50 improve improve morale. Bullying. When people mention bullying, many automatically think of bullying in school. A study carried by Shelley University in 1994 revealed that in Britain, 10% of primary school children and 4% of secondary school are bullied once a week. 350,000 18-year-olds and 100,000 secondary school people countrywide. One expert said that 1.3 million children a year are involved bullying, and it believes that bullying leads to many as 12 children a year committing suicide. Bullying is responsible for 30–50% of all stress-related illnesses in the workplace. This costs employ 80 million working days and up to £2 billion in lost money every year. It also results in pulmonary every year. It also results in pulmonary unproductivity and higher staff turnover. Running from a large part of domestic abuse in the home, that can lead to imbalance and extremely serious psychological damage. It is very common. 53% of adults are verbally berated by their patrons, and 50% are physically bullied. Intimidation or actual physical abuse can make you feel trapped, turn your home from a refuge into a prison. Men suffer bullying as well as women, even though they may find it harder to admit themselves. Much less to others. Much less to others. Much less.